was a well-equipped medicine chest. During her long visits in out-of-the-way places, Marian had learned much of the art of administering simple remedies. She had not been in the village for 3 days before her fame as a doctor became known to all the village. She learned, with a feeling of great relief, that the bearded stranger who had posed as a witch doctor had gone away from the village. Whether he had gone toward Whaling or south toward some other village, no one appeared to know. Now that he had departed, it seemed obvious that she was destined to take his place as the village practitioner. It was during one of her morning clinics, as she playfully called them, that a native of strange dress brought his little girl in for treatment. The ailment seemed but a simple cold. Marian prescribed cough syrup and quinine, then called for the next patient. Patients were few that morning. She soon found herself wandering up the single street of the village. There she encountered the strange native and his child. "Who are they?" she asked of a boy who understood English. "Reindeer Chukches." "Reindeer Chukches!" she exclaimed excitedly. "Where do they live?" "Oh, maybe 15 miles from here." "Do they live on the tundra as they used to?" "Yes." "Are there many of them?" "Not now. Many one time, now very few. Not many reindeer. Too much not moss. Plenty starve, plenty die." "Ask the Chukche," Marian said eagerly, "if I may go home with him to see his people." The boy spoke for a moment with the grave visaged stranger. "He say, that one, he say yes," smiled the boy. "Tell him I will be back quick." Marian was away like a shot. Tearing into their igloo, she drove Lucile into a score of activities. The medicine chest was filled and closed, paints stowed in their box, garments packed, sleeping bags rolled up, then they were away. Ere she knew it, Lucile was tucked in behind a fleet-footed reindeer, speeding over the low hills. "Now, please tell me where we are going?" she asked with a smile. "We are going to visit the most unique people in all the world, the reindeer Chukches. They are almost an extinct race now, but the time was when every clump of willows that lined the banks of the river of the far north in Siberia hid one of their igloos, and every hill and tundra fed one of their herds. Long before the Eskimos of Alaska thought of herding the reindeer, short-haired deerskin and soft-spotted fawn skins were traded across Bering Straits and far up along the Alaskan coast. These skins came from the camps of the reindeer Chukches of Siberia. Many years ago the Mikado of Japan, in the treasures of furs which he decorated his royal family, besides the mink, ermine and silver fox, had skins of rare beauty, spotted skins, brown, white and black. These were the fawn skins traded from village to village until they reached Japan. They came from the camps of the reindeer Chukches. Now we are to see them as they were many years ago, for they have not changed. And I am to paint them. Paint them! Think of it!" "Yes, but," Lucile smiled doubtfully, "supposing the ice gets solid while we're gone? Suppose Phi takes a fancy to cross without us? What then?" Marian's face sobered for a moment, but the zeal of a born artist and explorer was upon her. "Oh, fudge!" she exclaimed. "It won't. He won't. Why, I'll hurry up. We'll be back in East Cape in no time at all." No wildest nomadic dream could have exceeded the life which the two girls lived in the weeks that followed. Trailing a reindeer herd over hills and tundra, camping now in a clump of willows by the glistening ice of a stream, now beneath some shelving rocks, and now in the open, wind-swept tundra, eating about an open fire while the smoke curled from the top of the dome of the tepee-like igloo, they reveled in the strange wildness of it all. Here was a people who paid no rent, no taxes, owned no land, yet lived always in abundance. In the box beside the sleeping platform were tea and sugar. Over the fire hung a copper tea kettle of ancient design. In the sleeping box, which was made of long-haired deerskin, were many robes of short-haired deerskin, fawn skin, and Siberian squirrel. To all these the girls were made more than welcome. Their guide and his daughter did not live alone. A little tribe whose 20 igloos dotted the tundra traveled with him. These people were sometimes in need of simple remedies. For these they were singularly grateful. They, their women and their children, posed untiringly for sketches. But one thing Marian had not taken into consideration. These people seldom visited the village of East Cape. Although she did not know it, their herds were at this time feeding away from their trading metropolis of the Straits region. Each day, while she seized every opportunity to sketch, and hastened her work as much as she could, found them some 10 miles farther from the Cape. When at last, by signs and such native words as she knew, she indicated to her native friends that she was ready to return to East Cape, they stared at her in astonishment and indicated by a diagram on the snow that they were now at a point 3 days' journey from that town, and that none of them expected to return before the moon was again full. No amount of gesturing and jabbering could make them understand that it was necessary for the girls to return at once. "We'll never get back," Marian mourned in despair, "and it's all my fault." "Oh, we'll make it still," encouraged Lucile cheerfully. "Probably the straits are not fully frozen over, anyway." However, after a week of inaction, even Lucile lost her cheerful smile. One morning, after they had reached what appeared to be the final depths of despair, they heard a cry of "Tomai, Tomai, Tomai" rise in a chorus from among the tents. By this they knew that visitors had arrived. They hurried out to find the villagers grouped about 3 fur-clad figures standing beside 3 reindeer hitched to sleds of a strange design. By a few words and by signs they were made to understand that these people came from a point some 200 miles further north, a village on the north coast of Russia. As ever, eager to look upon some new type, Marian crowded through the throng, when to her immense surprise, the smaller of the 3, in reality only a boy, sprang forward and kneeling at her feet kissed the fur fringe of her parka. This action, so unusual among these natives, struck her dumb. But once he had looked up into her face, she understood all. He was none other than the strange brown boy who had come swimming to them from the sea off the coast of Washington. She was so surprised and startled at first sight of him that she found herself incapable of action. It seemed to her that she must be seeing a ghost. It appeared entirely incredible that he should be in this out of the way place when they had left him months before on a deserted island of Puget Sound. Her second reaction was one of great joy. Here was someone who really owed them a debt of gratitude. Might they not hope to receive assistance from him in solving the problem of making their way to the shore of Bering Straits? Springing to his feet, the boy mingled native dialect with badly spoken English in his expression of joy at meeting them again. At last, when the crowd had gone its way, and the girls had invited him to their tent, he told them in the few words of English he had learned since seeing them, and with many clever drawings, the story of his adventures. He was a native of the north coast of Russia, a far away point where white men's boats never come. One whale ship had, however, been carried there by the ice floes. After trading the natives for furs and ivory, and having found an open channel of water to the east, the captain had kidnapped him and carried him from his home. He had been made the captain's slave. So badly was he treated, overworked, kicked, cuffed and beaten, that when at last he saw land off the coast of Washington, dressed only in his bird-skin suit, he had leaped overboard when no one was looking and had attempted to swim ashore. The ship had passed on out of sight. He had been swimming for 2 hours when the girls rescued him from what was almost surely to have been a watery grave. for he was almost ready to give